There is a particular kind of hotel lobby silence that exists only in the very expensive ones. The silence of a room that has been engineered, acoustically and socially, to make anyone who doesn't belong in it feel that fact within about 4 seconds of walking through the door. It was in that silence, on a Friday evening in late November, that a man named Theo Marsh stood at the front desk of the Aldrich Grand with his 8-year-old daughter's hand in his, a single travel duffel over his shoulder, while the night manager, a man named Preston Cole, looked at the reservation screen with the particular practiced patience of someone deciding, in real time, how to say no. "I'm sorry, sir," Preston said. "I'm not seeing a reservation under that name." "It should be under Marsh," Theo said. "Confirmation should have come through this morning." "I've checked twice." Preston's tone had the smooth, unhurried courtesy of a man who had learned, over many years in luxury hospitality, that the worst thing you could do to a person you were turning away was let your voice suggest you found the situation stressful. It happens, unfortunately, with third-party booking sites. I'd suggest calling whoever you booked through. Theo's daughter, Mabel, was looking around the lobby the way 8-year-olds look at things, openly, without the social caution adults have learned, taking in the chandelier and the marble floor, and the small dish of wrapped chocolates on the counter, with the frank appraisal of someone deciding whether a place is impressive or merely large. "Is there anything you can do tonight?" Theo asked. "We drove 4 hours. My daughter has a swim meet here tomorrow morning." Preston glanced, just briefly, at Mabel's sneakers, at Theo's plain gray jacket, at the duffel bag that was doing a poor job of suggesting the kind of guest the Aldrich Grand generally hosted, and something in his expression settled into a decision he had clearly already made before Theo finished the sentence. "We are fully booked, sir. I'd recommend the Comfort Suites on Route 9. It's about 15 minutes back the way you came." He said it kindly, in the specific way that people say unkind things when they want the unkindness to be deniable later. "I truly am sorry for the inconvenience." Theo looked at the screen behind the desk, which he could see, at an angle, showed a floor plan with a visible scattering of unlit, unoccupied rooms. "You're not fully booked," he said. It wasn't an accusation. It was flat, quiet, the tone of a man simply stating an observed fact. "The system shows differently to guests than to staff," Preston said smoothly. "There are holds, incidentals, blocked inventory. I understand it can look confusing." He smiled the specific hotel lobby smile that exists to end conversations. "The Comfort Suites is quite comfortable, I promise." Theo did not argue further. He had learned, across a number of years and a number of rooms exactly like this one, that there was a particular kind of person for whom arguing only extended the humiliation rather than resolving it. He crouched down to Mabel's level. "Change of plans, Mabelbug," he said. "We're going to find somewhere else to sleep tonight." "Is it because of the swim meet?" Mabel asked, already reaching for her small backpack. "No," Theo said. "This place just isn't the right fit for us tonight." They walked out through the tall glass doors into the cold, Preston already turning back to his screen with the particular efficiency of a man who considered the matter closed, and did not see the black car pull up in the circular drive 40 minutes later, or the man who stepped out of it, or the specific look of recognition that crossed the face of the hotel's owner, Warren Aldrich, when he glanced at the lobby security monitor in his office 2 floors up and saw, in the grainy replay Preston hadn't thought to check, exactly who it was his night manager had just turned away. Theo Marsh was 34 years old. He had raised Mabel alone since she was 2, after Mabel's mother had left in a manner Theo did not discuss with people he'd just met, and had spent the 6 years since building, with a patience that had surprised even people who knew him well, a hospitality technology company that had started as a single piece of booking software. He'd written to solve a scheduling problem at his sister's inn and had grown, over time and largely without fanfare. into the reservation and inventory system used by roughly a third of the independent luxury hotels on the East Coast, including, as it happened, the very system currently displaying fully booked on the screen behind the Aldrich Grand's front desk. Theo did not generally announce this when he traveled. He had learned early that people behaved differently around him once they knew what his company was worth, and he had built a quiet, private life for himself and Mabel specifically to avoid that particular kind of behavior: the sudden warmth, the sudden interest, the specific flavor of attention that had very little to do with him and a great deal to do with what he represented. He drove an ordinary car. He wore ordinary jackets. He and Mabel had, for years, traveled the same modest way most people traveled, because it let him see, clearly and without interference, what kind of place a business actually was when it believed nobody important was watching. He had not, on this particular evening, planned an inspection of the Aldrich Grand. The reservation confusion was real, a genuine glitch in a third-party booking integration, the kind of small, unglamorous bug his own company's support team fielded calls about every week. What was not a glitch was the choice Preston Cole had made in the 90 seconds that followed it: to look at a tired man and a child with a duffel bag, glance at a screen showing 11 unoccupied rooms, and decide, without asking a single further question, that the correct move was to lie and send them back into the cold. Warren Aldrich, who owned the hotel and had known Theo for 6 years as the two things a hotel owner values in a technology partner, reliable and unglamorous, watched the lobby footage twice before he picked up his phone. "Theo," he said, "tell me you're not actually standing in a parking lot right now." "We found a comfort suites," Theo said. "Mabel's asleep. It's fine, Warren." "It is not fine." Warren's voice had the particular strain of a man doing rapid arithmetic about how much worse this could have been if Theo were a different kind of person. "I'm looking at the security footage. He told you there were no rooms." "He did. There were 11 rooms." "I saw the screen too," Theo said, and there was something almost amused in it, the dry amusement of a man who builds systems for a living watching one of his own systems get misused right in front of him. "It's fine. Really. I've had worse nights than a comfort suites, Warren. Mabel's got waffles for breakfast and a swim meet at 9. We're fine." "I'm firing him tonight." "That's your call to make, not mine," Theo said. "I didn't call you to get anyone fired. I called because you asked if I was in a parking lot and I didn't want to lie to you." Warren was quiet for a moment. "You're not going to tell me what to do about this, are you?" "No," Theo said. "I'm really not. You know the kind of hotel you want to run. This is just information about whether you're currently running it." What Preston Cole did not know, standing at his desk at 11 that night reviewing the following day's arrivals, was that Warren Aldrich had already spent 40 minutes on the phone, not with Theo, who had asked for nothing, but with his own head of operations, going over the guest logs from the past 6 months, cross-referencing a pattern he had started to suspect, but had never had quite enough evidence to confirm. A quiet, consistent thinning of fully booked nights that always seemed to happen on Preston's shifts, always seemed to happen to guests who arrived without obvious luster, and always seemed to resolve itself, mysteriously, back into available inventory the following morning under someone else's name. Preston had, it turned out, spent the better part of a year quietly reserving rooms he wasn't authorized to reserve and steering them toward a private arrangement with a corporate booking agency that paid him a commission, turning away ordinary guests, dressed ordinarily, arriving without the particular polish the hotel's marketing liked to imply was a requirement, in favor of bookings that padded his own pocket. Theo and Mabel had simply been the ones, on this particular night, who happened to have the misfortune of being turned away in view of a security camera that the hotel's owner happened to check for an entirely unrelated reason. Warren called Theo again, just after 7 the next morning. "He's done," Warren said. As of an hour ago, there's a pattern going back months. I'll spare you the details, but you didn't get unlucky last night, Theo. You got caught in something that had been happening for a while. I appreciate you telling me, Theo said. He was standing in the Comfort Suite's small, fluorescent-lit breakfast room, watching Mabel work through a waffle with the serious concentration she brought to most food, her swim bag already packed by the door. How's Mabel's swim meet going to work, logistically? We're on the other side of town now. Don't worry about logistics, Warren said. There's a car coming for you in 20 minutes. And Theo, I know you didn't want this, and I know you're going to tell me not to make a thing of it. But she's swimming today, and I'd like the two of you to at least have a decent breakfast waiting when you get back tonight, at a hotel that actually has your name on the reservation this time. That much I'm doing, and I'm not asking permission. Theo looked at Mabel, methodically working her way through the last corner of waffle, entirely unaware that the previous night's small unfairness had already unraveled itself somewhere above her, in a conversation she'd never hear about, resolved by people she'd never meet. Fine, Theo said, but no fuss. She doesn't need to know any of this happened. No fuss, Warren agreed. Just a room and maybe better waffles. Mabel won her heat that morning by a comfortable margin, unaware of anything except the specific triumph of touching the wall first, and spent the car ride back describing the race to her father in the exhaustive, replaying detail children bring to their own victories, unprompted and unembarrassed. Thea listened to all of it. He did not mention the Aldrich Grand, or Preston Cole, or the phone call with Warren, and when they pulled up that evening to find their names correctly listed at the front desk, a different manager entirely greeting them by name, Mabel noticed only that the lobby had a much bigger chandelier than the Comfort Suites, and asked, with real curiosity, whether the little dish of chocolates at the counter was actually free to take. It was. She took two, one for now and one for later, with the careful, deliberate economy of a child managing a limited resource, and did not ask why they were staying somewhere different than where they'd meant to the night before. Thea did not offer an explanation, mostly because there wasn't a version of it that seemed worth handing to an 8-year-old. A story about a man who had looked at the two of them and decided, based on nothing but a duffel bag and a plain gray jacket, exactly what they were worth. He was asked about the whole thing much later, at a hospitality industry dinner where Warren, several drinks in, told the story to a small group without nomming the hotel, in the particular way people tell stories once enough time has passed that the sting has gone out of them, and only the shape remains. What I keep coming back to, one of the other guests said, is that he had no idea who you were. He turned you away because he thought you were nobody. Theo considered this for a moment, the way he considered most questions, slowly and without needing to fill the silence immediately. I think that's most of it, honestly, he said. Not that he didn't know who I was, that he decided, before he knew anything real about either of us, what kind of person deserved a room and what kind didn't. I was going to be turned away by someone like that eventually, whether or not I happened to own the reservation system he was lying about. My daughter just happened to be there for this particular one. He turned his glass slowly on the table. The part I actually think about isn't the hotel. It's how many other people he did that to on nights nobody happened to be checking the cameras. He didn't say anything else about it after that, and the conversation moved on to something else, the way conversations at those dinners tended to. And Theo went home that night and found Mabel already asleep, one arm flung over the side of the bed, a swim medal from some meet or another still looped loosely around the bedpost where she'd left it, entirely unconcerned, as she had been for most of her life, with anything except the water and the wall and the specific, uncomplicated satisfaction of getting there first.